Wake up, Chief. Wake up, John. We need you.
Who's next?
Chief!
Cover the chief.
Chief!
I'm here.
Help me with the brutes in the crevice, John.
After finding the crashed Falcon, which had Jun and Johnson on board, Master Chief, Emil, and George were examining the remains. While they weren't surprised that there wasn't a dead Spartan there, they had found a body burnt to a crisp. They had all assumed it was Johnson. But Chief wasn't too sure. He approached the body and began to lift the burnt remains of the Falcon when a hunter shot a plasma cannon right at him. Chief's luck is once again his saving grace as one of the Falcon's wings breaks off at this point and lands blocking the cannon shot. The force of the explosion launches Master Chief back into a rock and Semi knocks him out for a few seconds. Managing to come to, from Cortana's screams and the sound of combat all around him, he sees George in front of him taking shots in Chief's stead to protect him, while Emil is up on a ledge hunting down the forces surrounding them from above. Master Chief reaches over for his assault rifle and starts opening up fire besides George. Though at this point George has taken a lot of fire, and his armor is visibly damaged from all angles. John understands it's not just the armor, but also the man inside. George has taken severe plasma burns all over at this point. So, while they have managed to move into cover by now, the situation doesn't look good. They didn't find Jun or Johnson, and they wasted time coming here instead of heading into the Ark's activation room. The only thing in their favor right now is that nighttime is coming. The coating of their armors, as well as the burns and scorch marks, will help hide them in the shadows of the artificial nighttime. Running alongside the rocky hill, Emil is trying to provide covering fire for the pair of Spartan-IIs on the bottom, but he has to contend with his own enemies. Most of the enemies on top of Emil are jackals, skirmishers, and buggers flying around him. But unfortunately, a kill squad of elites has been deployed to hunt the Spartans down. These are the best of the best in terms of the Covenant, only matched in prowess and ability by an Arbiter. While the elites are hot on their trails, the Spartans are pushing forward onto the activation citadel. George has slowed down a lot at this point after all the burns, and his machine gun is entirely out of ammo. With little to no choice, he begins to pick up Covenant weapons along the way. Now with a fuel rod on his back, as well as dual-wielding brute shots, he tries to be the first line of attack, but Chief gets ahead of him, pushing ahead with several clips of SMG ammo into the foreheads of any would-be Covenant hero, demolishing through grunts and hunters just the same, with the brute shot explosions keeping the hunters off balance, allowing Chief to target the worms directly, and Chief's SMGs breaking the larger foe's shields, followed by explosions of George's brute shots to tear apart the aliens. Through a cloud of smoke and blood particles all over the air, the Spartans see several Banshees approaching them from the distance. And although they try to run away, they know the Banshees will get to them soon. But just as they think it's all over, the UNSC Roses of Winter appears in the horizon, approaching at an alarming speed, knocking the Banshees out of the air, blasting right through them. Miranda contacts them to tell them the Forward Unto Dawn will arrive in an hour. The plan is to deploy the nuke on board the Dawn from the Pillar of Winter that they didn't use, and set it at the control center of the installation. Though the Chief and his team were not aware, this was exactly where they needed to go to begin with. Miranda tells them Noble 6 transmitted the data to them, but that Noble Actual suffered heavy casualties, and the Roses of Winter is going to try to go help them or evac them from the stolen Phantom.
Damn it. What type of casualties?
They have set a small beacon with a UNSC frequency, telling the Forward Unto Dawn exactly where to be when it exits slip space. After the Roses takes off, a ton of Covenant fighters from Banshees to battlecruisers rise from the horizon to chase it. In an ordinary situation, the Covenant would open up slip space portals and just surround and cut off the UNSC vessels running around. But here, they refuse to damage the Ark, and Miranda is actively trying to do the opposite, cause as much destruction as possible on their installation. This, coupled with the Covenant upgrades, means she's staying ahead of the Covenant by exploiting the terrain of the Ark. Chief's team takes a small rest to assess damage on George. Emil shouts from the top of a ridge,
What's wrong with the big man?
After George takes off his helmet, he says he'll live. Chief nods, and in the blink of an eye, half of George's face is gone as a plasma round strikes right through the side of his face. Chief turns to look in the direction of the shot only to see, up in a ledge, 6 Sela elites rushing Emil. Though he stops 2 of them immediately with a combination of a frag grenade and an EMP from his grenade launcher, and a quick switch to his shotgun to stop a 3rd one. The 4th has closed in the distance, and right before he attacks, Chief shoots the elite. But it's too little, too late. It only manages to make him flinch, though this flinch is just enough to save Emil's life, as the elite still stabs right through the Spartan and inserts his sword in his abdomen.
I'm ready! How about you?
Emil shoves his knife right into the elite's exposed lower jaws and kills him as he pulls him down with him. They fall down 30 feet in front of Chief and the nearly dead George, as 2 more jump off the ledge and at the remaining Spartans. George reaches for his helmet to protect his half-melted face and exposed brain matter. As the elites run to the Spartan-IIs, Chief runs ahead to meet them in combat, trying to take some weight off of George. Master Chief runs up to one and dodges a sword strike while kneeing the elite in the stomach with a jump kick. He grabs the elite's face with his left hand and the elite's wrist where he's holding his sword and pushes him down to the floor while gouging out the elite's eye. Under tumble on the floor, the Chief knocks out the sword from the elite's hand while simultaneously jacking out one of the elite's jaws. He lunges forward just in time to strike the sword right through the last zealot's chest, taking both the elite's hearts with a simple strike, and quickly finishes up the other one bleeding, while George provides covering fire from an army of jackals coming at them from the east. Chief runs up to Emil to check on him, only to hear Cortana say,
"Quickly, biofoam, left lung. If he's half the Spartan you are, he'll live. If you hadn't shot the elite's hand, that would be his heart with a massive hole right now."
Though the biofoam takes care of the hole for Emil's lung, the second prong of the sword cut through Emil's liver and large intestine. Without medical attention soon, he will bleed out. Care for Emil is interrupted by hundreds of roars in the distance as a massive horde of brutes is landing with the prophets at the entrance of the citadel where the halo array can be activated. Chief sees in the distance as Mercy and Truth enter the citadel alongside several elites, Tartarus, the largest brutes Chief has ever seen, a handful of drones, and 2 hunters, clad in white and purple armor. After seeing the army that lies between them and the citadel, Chief knows he won't be able to make it inside and destroy the control room of the Ark, not without losing George and the Spartan-III. While he debates with his moral code not to abandon his Spartan brother, he resigns himself to do what's necessary. The needs of humanity must come before those of his Spartans. Once Chief decides to hop back into the battle, he changes places with George. George will protect Emil and buy Chief as much time as possible and gather the attention of the Covenant to draw in forces while Chief fights his way inside, all while reinforcements keep on arriving by the hundreds every minute. Outgunned and outnumbered, Master Chief does his best out in the battlefield alone, while he creates a mountain of bodies just piling up one on top of another in all directions, slowly pushing into the citadel. This does prove to be a fatal error though, one not he can avoid. As the bodies pile up, they begin to serve as cover for him, but with more bodies piling up with every bullet, it begins to leave a trail stacked so high they begin to work as walls, surrounded and being shot at from above. Is when several elites and brutes jump down into the pit of bodies with him, and to make it worse, a giant swarm of drones is circling above, while another swarm of a different kind slithers underneath. Thousands of like logo worms seep in through the dead bodies to come through the makeshift body walls. With nowhere to go, the Master Chief is forced to fight all these heavy hitters all around him at very, very close quarters. He manages to take out several elites and brutes while actively making them fire plasma at him just to miss and hit the hunter worms encircling him. But it's not enough, as a mass of worms serves to hold him down, just enough for an elite and 2 brutes to get on top of him and hold his arms back. Chief headbutts an elite, pushing him into a brute, starting a fight amongst the 2 of them, but still not enough, as from the slight opening of the gap in enemies, he sees Tartarus approach the battle, proudly holding the Fist of Rukt. Chief stumps out some more worms at his feet, just enough to get free and move about, swinging the bodies around him across the battlefield, but once more it's not enough. This is the Covenant's demon, and they seek to end him before the great journey can begin. A dozen more foes jump at the Spartan to hold him down, as Tartarus approaches, telling the rest of the Covenant forces there that the prophets want him alive. They will use him as a sacrifice to the Ark to initiate the ring. A worthy sacrifice such as the demon will open up the way. Now unarmed and being held through several several Covenant restraints as well as both brutes and elites. They take the Master Chief into the Citadel as Master Chief sees in his heads-up display several signals come in range. The rest of Noble Team and their stolen Phantom. What's more important to him is Cortana telling him a slipspace signature has just opened and the Forward Unto Dawn has arrived. Just as Master Chief is being hauled into the Citadel, a slipspace portal opens up above and it's the Forward Unto Dawn. As soon as all the Covenant forces turn to look, it begins to approach while prepping a silo missile. While not looking, 2 sniper shots ring out, taking brain matter directly out of one of the elites holding the Chief's arms, and the second shot disabling his leg restraints. Chief jumps and kicks the other elite in the torso, launching himself backward and instantly killing the elite. Using his momentum to roll off the bridge while unarmed, several drones fly down after him, all being disposed of by the mysterious sniper. Chief lands on the ground beneath the light bridge and picks up needlers dropped by the drones following him. He starts running as Cortana tells him the Forward Unto Dawn is preparing a missile, but it's too late. The frigate launches the missile to stop the Prophets inside the Citadel from activating the rings, but just in the nick of time, the shield around the Citadel goes up, stopping the nuclear silo and saving the Covenant's dream. Things looked up for a moment, and just like that, they began to look down again, as one more Phantom made it inside the shield before it was placed up, or so Master Chief thinks, as the Phantom drops a single figure onto the bridge. Soon enough, the Phantom begins to open up fire on the units around Master Chief, saving him from the horde of enemies once again on his trail. Not as though he needed saving, but now with his broken restraints on both his arms and legs, he can move freely. He has to be careful where he steps though, as there are bodies falling all over from the light bridge. Chief picks up on who's on the bridge. Noble 6 is clearing the path to the Citadel, and the Phantom above them is the one the Spartans hijacked. On board the side turrets are George and Carter, while Kat is covering them with her shield. Emil is the only one not participating, but it can't be helped as he's still in critical condition. On the bridge, Tartarus charges at Noble 6, only to have a Spartan laser strike him from the side, launching him off the bridge and down into the clutches of the Master Chief. Chief lets the brute charge at him as he digs his feet into the ground to stop the gravity hammer's pull effects. He throws a grenade at the brute's feet to knock him off balance. Once his shield begins to falter, he begins to bombard him with needles from the pink misty weapon he looted from the nearby bodies. The needles manage to pierce the brute's armor but only slightly, while they are also stopped by the Jiralhani's massive coating of thick fur and hide. The brute thinks he can withstand this, but he is mistaken, as he begins to feel the needles within his body break and expand, and he becomes a pink mist, a smear on the floor of what used to be. Just as Chief is starting to once again get surrounded, a ghost zooms past him, splattering a grunt running at Chief with plasma grenades on his hands. Out of the ghost, a passenger leaps out into a roll.
What would you do without me, Chief?
Johnson extends his hand out to Chief to help him up. The Chief gets up, 2 more sniper shots fly past him at some incoming foes. He turns to look at June, limping and using his sniper as a cane. With a needle struck right through his right femur, Chief looks down at the needle and June says,
"Struck the femoral vein. Pull it out, I bleed out. Put too much weight on it, I bleed out."
Chief nods at the Spartan and looks back at Johnson's direction.
I've got this. We need to get these shields offline.
Don't worry, Chief. Commander Miranda knew about them. Last transmission I got from her anyway. She'll bring the shield down. We overheard the Prophets talking to one of those flying light bulbs. They can't start the rings without what they call reclaimers. That's us, Chief. Humanity. Those bastards actually need us.
After pausing for a moment, Master Chief realizes they don't need to beat the Covenant. They just need to block their access to the Forerunner's technology.
Get Spartan June to the Phantom. Noble 6 and I will take care of the rest.
On it, Chief.
Chief makes his way back up to the bridge with Johnson and June. Though still heavily surrounded, the Phantom is keeping them safe for the most part. That and 6 plus Chief reunited at last, ending any and every alien bastard in their path. Once Johnson helps load June into the Phantom and the rest of Noble Team is on board, Chief and 6 go into the Citadel. While crossing the bridge, they see the Roses of Winter come in fast and bombard the towers around the Citadel, the ones that control the shield covering the center. With this bombardment, the Covenant have had enough and actually begin to open up fire on the UNSC vessels. This turns out to be a huge mistake, as with Miranda's bombardment, the Ark released thousands of Sentinels to protect itself. With the Covenant's stray shots, the Ark has begun to consider them a target too. Soon enough, a war between the Covenant and the Sentinels breaks out. This is a limited conflict though, as the Covenant really don't want to hurt any part of the Ark, but it does help to buy the UNSC time as they are safe from the Covenant while being so close to the Ark. Now with no more acts of aggression, the Sentinels hold on from attacking the Roses and Forward Unto Dawn, as they are Reclaimer vessels. Master Chief and Noble Six enters the Citadel, but instead of going upward, they see a monitor flying into another hallway and they begin to follow it. Even with their speed, the monitor seems to be eluding them at every corner, clearly leading them somewhere. The Spartans are preparing for a large battle when they come to a terminal. A single terminal in a lonesome room with no monitor in sight, yet they know he's there.
Plug me into the console, Chief.
Once Master Chief plugs Cortana into the console, she says the console is sabotaged. The second Chief touched it, it unlocked the halo from being repaired at the center of the Ark, also known as Installation 04, now fully repaired. The monitor of Installation 04 teleports them to Alpha Halo. During this, the Phantom carrying the wounded members of Noble Team and Johnson has gotten to the Forward Unto Dawn, where the Spartans are being put into cryo for their injuries. So they may yet be saved back on Earth, if they ever make it back, that is. Upon Chief and Six's transponders disappearing, Johnson notices this and takes the Phantom back. He's gonna go help them. Though they were now on the ring, Johnson doesn't know how they got there, but he knows this means trouble. Now in the control room of Alpha Halo, surrounded by Sentinels and the Monitor, Master Chief and Six begin to be overwhelmed by the power of all the Sentinels, and no cover. 343 stops just shy of killing them.
Just like the fools on the Ark, you do not understand the power of my makers. You would destroy the halos, everything my makers gave their life for. My installation? No, that simply won't do. I will keep you alive. There are many protocols I cannot override without a reclaimer. You two will come in handy.
At this moment, a red beam blasts into the monitor, pushing him back several meters. Johnson steps out into the control room, blasting Guilty Spark with his Spartan laser once more, now with fumes and exhaust as well as tiny sparks radiating out from the monitor. Noble Six takes this opportunity to start shooting the monitor while Chief tries to rush in to the aid of Johnson. But it's too late, as several Sentinels take to Johnson and begin blasting him. Chief manages to defeat them all while Noble Six takes care of the monitor. Master Chief runs up to Johnson to help him in his final moments, but before they can speak, Cortana screams,
What the hell do you think you're doing?
Chief looks over to see Noble Six has started the firing of the halo.
What are you doing?
Following orders, sir.
Stand down, soldier. That is an order.
I've got orders from way on top.
Parangoski.
This is the only way we win this war.
By committing genocide? If we do this,
This is our duty, sir. You know that as soldiers, we must do this for humanity. Chief stops and considers the truth in the statement. The words feel almost at home in his ears, he realizes. If the orders had been given to him directly, the shoe may be on the other foot. But after fighting the flood, Chief needs to believe humanity is better than the all-consuming parasite.
Chief approaches the console to Halo, but Noble Six raises his DMR at Chief. Chief stops and considers the truth in the statement. Since this ring was repaired with parts that were going to be used to create a new Installation 005, the control room that was used was that of Installation 05, which means Noble Six and Virgil still held the index from Installation 05, which is how he managed to activate the Halo ring and begin the firing sequence. The broken monitor says on the floor,
This was not the intended purpose my makers had for this installation, Reclaimers. This is a gross misuse of the gifts left behind by my makers. This ring was created to deal with the flood, not for petty squabbles.
This whole time has given Johnson a chance to get to the other side of the room, crawling with his laser.
Chief.
Master Chief looks at him, and Six turns to look at Johnson as well. Johnson raises his Spartan laser, pointing it at Noble Six. Then a second later, a second that feels like an eternity. Johnson turns the laser to Master Chief's direction.
Don't make me use it, Chief.
Master Chief tightens his fists.
We both know I'm not making it off this ring. When I was 6, I went to live with my aunt, Marcille, in a rundown neighborhood in Chicago.
Johnson takes out a cigar and lights it. He pauses after every sentence to take in a puff of his cigar.
That was over 70 years ago. Those little slums in Chicago were a real shitty place to sleep. But it was my home. I was on Earth a few years back, and wouldn't you know, to my surprise, they had torn down the whole neighborhood and built it all shiny, clean, and new. All but the church. For a moment I was mad. That was my hometown. But then I remembered how Aunt Marcille had always hoped to see her neighborhood cleaned up, free from gang violence and insurrectionist attacks. Now that's all gone. All gone.
Johnson takes one last puff of his cigar.
Before we left Earth, I saw firsthand what they did to my hometown. I've been seeing it half my life. These alien bastards aren't gonna stop until they wipe us out, Chief.
Johnson puts out his cigar on the sputtering monitor. He takes off his dog tags and gives them to Master Chief.
You're running out of time. Get out of here before this thing kills us all. I'll make sure no one stops what's coming.
Just as Chief is about to speak, Johnson gives him a side glance, a single look that speaks 1,000 words between them.
Come on, Chief. Let me do my part.
The Spartans run out of the control room. Now, on the Phantom on their way to the Forward Unto Dawn, the Roses of Winter uses this opportunity to leave the Ark through the portal to Earth. On board the Forward Unto Dawn, Noble Team is in cryo, as they have all taken deadly injuries. Noble 6 may have cauterized the wounds for both Carter and Kat, but George is on his deathbed basically, with an exposed cerebellum and plasma burns. Emil has lost an incredible amount of blood. His liver and intestines have shut down and are now exposed. June has a needle that if moved slightly could cause him an irreparable bleed. Once in cryo, they will stay frozen until they're back on Earth and they can be taken care of. Before the Chief can start making his way to the bridge to explain what happened, the ring begins to activate. This is the only reason why the Covenant had not started firing on them. The humans were on their way to leave and the great journey had begun. The ring was beginning to fire. Key's voice comes over the radio telling them all hands prepare to enter slipspace. As the Forward Unto Dawn begins to cross the event horizon into the portal for Earth, the portal begins to collapse under the massive radiation influx of the ring, shaking the ship and breaking it apart in slipspace. The ship splits in half, and almost exactly the same way as how the ship breaks in Halo 3, the front makes it to Earth, while the back gets stranded in deep space. This time, there's a lot more casualties, as on both sides of the ship, there was a crew not prepared for the vacuum of space. Noble Team is all in cryopods, except for Chief, so they are fine, and Chief is in his Mjolnir, so he survives. But the ship is littered with bodies lacking life support. Before reaching the cryo chambers, Chief goes by collecting the tags of every crew member, until he finally plugs Cortana into the console, telling her,
Wake me when you need me.
and locks himself into a cryopod. Thank you for watching, Reclaimers. Let me know what you guys thought about this timeline so far and how I broke down the videos into smaller parts. What you liked and what you didn't like, and how some parts were AI voiced and the others were just regular old me. I'm gonna put all 3 parts together and upload them as one for those of you who prefer the longer versions. Thank you for bearing with me while I go through finals and experiment with AI voice cloning as well as video length and segmentation. Have a great night, Reclaimers.
Subscribe or you're not a real reclaimer.